Noel Redding in New Mexico.
Nick, how are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Of course, you're best known for being bass player for Jimi Hendrix Experience. We're here today, well, talk a little bit about Jimi Hendrix, but mainly concentrate on yourself.
Okay.
And now where I want to start, Noel, is I've just finished your book, Are You Experienced? It mentioned that you picked up a lot of instruments when you were a young lad. What actually drove you to, was other friends playing instruments, or what was the motivation, Noel?
It was when I was 9 at primary school, as they called it in England. My sort of best mate, what was his name, Dave Tyrrell, he joined the violin class, right? So I thought, well, I might as well, you know, because my best mate had joined the violin class. And ended up, I sort of like played the violin for a bit. And then that sort of got me interested in sort of music, I think. And I think I tried to join a local band, and I tried playing a cornet, which is like a trumpet, when I was about 10 or 11. And then my mum found, I think it was a mandolin or something, which I picked up and suddenly worked out, probably wrongly. And then when I was about, I think it was 12 or something, I wanted a guitar, so I got a guitar and learned, I got a chord book or something and learned all the chords, and suddenly I was playing guitar.
And that's where it all started?
Yeah, I was about 12, 13.
So what about the step from playing guitar and then going into bands or local bands there in Folkestone?
I'd say I was in my first little local band when I was about 15, I'd say. There's a band called what are they called? The Strangers. And I think there was about 2 or 3 guitar players, and I was given the sack one Saturday afternoon because I was too small. I'm serious. So what I did then, that sort of like upset and all that.
What was the fact about being too small? What, does that make you play music less well? Or what was the reasoning behind it? Did you ever find out?
I was too young, basically.
Right.
So what I did then, I knew a couple of other guys, and we put together another little band, which we called ourselves the Lonely Ones. And then suddenly, by the time I'm sort of 15, 16, we were playing around everywhere. And I think we had a drummer. He was the only guy old enough to drive the van. So basically, I started playing in little bands when I was about 15, 16 years old.
Well, in your book, Noel, it's not being there, but reading it somehow, even though, you know, you had a lot of problem with the vans and, you know, you played hardly anything and that, and you're always running around, it does come across to me as fascinating stuff, that it was an interesting time, let's say.
Well, it was, yeah, because we were all very young, and like it was hard to get equipment, so all our mothers had to sign HP agreements to get amplifiers and whatever. But it was great fun, you know.
After a while, what, you built up your reputation?
Well, we had the Lonely Ones going just when I was finishing grammar school, and I finished grammar school when I was 15. Did me GCs and all that rubbish, and then I went into art college. Like
every good rock star in England?
Yeah. I went to art college and did the first year, and then the second year you have to decide whether you want to be a teacher or commercial artist. So I thought I'd go for commercial art, and then one night we actually played at the art college dance, and I think the next day, because it's always very laid back in art colleges, the headmaster said to me, he asked me to go to his room, and he said, you should make a decision, like you should become a musician or an artist. So I went professional the next day.
No wasting time there. Now, your mum was very supportive though, wasn't she?
Yes.
Even though, I mean, the musician's world is not exactly, well, just being an artist is not exactly steady employment, is it?
No. No, she used to lend us, like, the petrol money to go to a gig. And in those days, we were getting something like 7 and 6pence, whatever that is nowadays. And we'd take out the 7 shillings straight away to give back to my mum for the petrol money and that sort of stuff. We kept accounts and everything.
Now, some of these gentlemen were also your future Fat Mattress band members. Just for the listeners who probably might know of Fat Mattress or might have heard the name, Fat Mattress actually existed between 1968 and 1970. It was basically during the Hendrix Experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, I started the band when I was still with the Experience.
So, after playing around, gigging, then how did you come to meet Chas Chandler and Mr. Hendrix himself?
Well, that's later on. That's 1966.
Okay, so you're still gigging around and paying your dues, as they say?
Yeah. I went to Germany when I was 18, and the lead singer was Neil Landon, who ended up with the Fat Mattress, and the bass player was Jimmy Leverton, who ended up in the Fat Mattress. And we did Germany for a couple of years, and then we had a band called the Loving Kind, and we had 3 singles out, and that's all.
The German thing is like an English band of the era's rites of passage. You had to go over to Germany to
get work, yeah. But it was very long hours. We were working from 7 till 1 every night. And but anyway, so we're up to sort of like 66, and we had the Loving Kind. We had 3 records out, but the agent was awful, and nothing really happened with the band. So I sort of left. And then in September 66, I went up from Kent to London and to do an audition, because I read that the Animals had broken up, and Eric Burdon had actually sung with us about a month previously, or a few months previously, in a club in London, and had sort of commented that he liked the band. So I thought, well, I'd give it a go. So I went up and I sort of blagged my way into the audition, and by which time I think they got a guitar player. But that's when, like, I played a bit, and they said the usual thing at an audition, like, sit around and wait and we'll let you know, and all that sort of rubbish. And that's when Chas Chandler wandered over to me, and he was like Chas Chandler from the telly, and I was like a little 20-year-old bloke from Kent. And he said, can you play bass? And I said, no, but I'll give it a go. So I played 3 tunes for this drummer, a keyboard player, and this American bloke, no vocals. We just played 3 tunes, and this American bloke said, can I have a word with you? So we went to a pub next door to this place where we were sort of auditioning and whatever, and we talked about music. He was asking me about the English music scene, I was asking about the American music scene, and then he said, would I join his band? And that was Mr. Hendrix.
And so it started there. And was the drummer Mitch Mitchell there at the audition?
No, not then. That was a guy called Ainsley Dunbar on the first little session.
Oh, okay, yes, very well known musician. Yeah. So then that was the start of the whirlwind, was that right, Noel?
Yeah, it was about the 28th to 29th of September 1966. And then I went back to Kent, because I think Chas lent me 10 shillings to get back to Kent train. And
so you're a little bit skint at the time.
Very. And I was supposed to come back to London the next day, so I came back to London the next day and couldn't find anyone, but I found the office, and that's when I met, it was Mike Jeffries, and he said, aren't you the guy? I said, yeah, and he said, well, we want you in the band, we'll pay you £15 a week, but you have to move to London. So I said, of course, for £15 a week. So I moved to London, and then we sort of got Mitch about a week later or so, and we did not really rehearsals, and then we went straight on a tour of France, and our first date with the Experience was on the 13th of October 1966.
So was there immediate chemistry between the 3 of you, or did it sort of take time to develop?
Well, it took time. I'd sort of like been talking to Jim all the time about music. That's all we talked about. I was asking him about the American stuff. He's asking me about the English stuff.
Well, he paid his dues in a lot of different bands.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So for that time, you were basically superstars and the hottest band in the world and having everything, but judging by the book, success isn't what it turned out to be for you. No, would I be saying that? Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, well, at the time it was a different time when drugs were not frowned upon as they are these days. I mean, even cigarettes are frowned upon these days.
I know.
There was satisfaction out of being, I suppose, getting the best table at the restaurant and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but a lot of restaurants were thrown out.
That's easy to forget. Being a long-haired musician in those days wasn't a respectable job, really, was it?
No, it wasn't, actually.
Especially in the American South, where you had trouble with...
Yes, we had a lot of trouble in the South. A lot of trouble, because we sort of could handle it. But that's when I'd bring on my Cockney accent, and then suddenly everything changed. It did help.
Referring to the book again, and I'll mention it's called Are You Experience, which you're re-releasing soon, you mentioned?
Yep. I just spoke to my business guy yesterday and you'd mentioned that to me, and he said we got the rights back, and I'm going to write an extra little bit
to update it.
Yep, and then we're going to put it out again.
That's great.
That's the plan.
A look out for Noel Redding's book, Are You Experience, written by Noel Redding and the late Carol Appleby. Noel, there's a lot of money troubles right up to the end here in the book.
Yeah.
Did you ever get anything up to, because the book ends at about 1990?
No, nothing happened.
Nothing happened, so you still basically haven't received your fair due, which is, I suppose many musicians in the 60s had similar problems. I know Ray Davies used to sing about it all the time.
I know Ray. Well, I know Ray anyway. But they had their big problems like Ray and that lot. But I think luckily they sorted themselves out. But even like the Rolling Stones had problems. And even the Beatles had problems.
Well, that Apple mess didn't get sorted out until I think fairly recently too.
I know.
Fat Mattress, talk about Fat Mattress. Well, let's go into the first album, Noel, which is a fantastic album. I think probably why Fat Mattress isn't well known because it's sort of hidden under the shadow of the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Okay.
I think the first album is a ripper. It was originally released on, well, I've got an Atco Records vinyl from America, and there was 10 tracks, but basically Fat Mattress recorded 2.5 albums. Is that right, Noel?
That's right.
Noel, with Fat Mattress, because according to the book, they kicked you out of your own band, Eric, Jim and Neil. Is that right, or...?
Well, they sort of went off and tried to sort of do it on their own, but couldn't.
Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to be too harsh, but the second album isn't as consistent as the first. So that's Fat Mattress, but I quickly want to get on to Road and the Noel Redding band.
Okay. Road, I was living in Los Angeles in 71, 72. I'd met this guy who used to play with a band called Rare Earth from Detroit. His name was Rod Richards. He actually came to England and found me in my house, hidden away in the countryside. And he said we must sort of do something. So we actually went to Detroit and we stayed there for a month and wrote songs. We went to LA and made an album with Tom Wilson, who co-produced with me.
The Simon and Garfunkel producer.
That's right. And we put this album together, and then like the guitar player, he was expecting us to get like 50 grand a night, and I said, look, we can't expect that because we're just sort of basically starting out again. And it all became a dispute, and the band ended.
And what happened to the album?
Well, we made the one album, that was about it.
But no commercial? No.
Well, you can't get it now. And like a lot of people are looking for it, and someone actually told me...
Who owns the rights to it, Noel?
It was Motown. I gather Motown was bought by EMI. I'm not sure because I've been trying to trace it so I could get hold of it and put it out again. Because a lot of people have been asking me about it. 3-piece band is a sort of rock type stuff, but there's other stuff in it as well.
One thing, Noel, is the first Fat Mattress album, I mean, great little album, but what happened commercially? Why didn't that hit the top of the charts, as they say?
Well, it did well in America, I gather. It did quite well in Europe.
I heard it did well in Holland or something.
Yeah, in Holland, it's like we're sort of quite well known in Holland and Germany. But we got this advance, so I don't think we ever got any money back anyway.
Isn't that a typical story?
It is.
Noel, so besides putting a new chapter in your Are You Experience, what else are you up to? Are you still living in Ireland, even though we're talking in New Mexico? Are you still based in Ireland?
Yes, still there.
How are you keeping your chops fit, or whatever you musicians say?
Oh, yes.
You regularly play?
Like whenever I'm at home, I took a couple of months off because I hadn't had any time off in 42 years, so I thought I'd take a couple of months off, which I did.
Oh, I think you deserved it after 42 years, maybe.
But then I sort of play... When I'm at home, sort of every Friday or every other Friday in our local place, and I'd play with a drummer I'd played with for 33 years. He played with Road.
That's Les
Sampson. And the guitar player from Glasgow has been playing with me now for 3 years. And there's another guitar player from Liverpool who's been playing with me for about a year now. And then also a guy from your neck of the woods, Steve Houston.
Ah, yes. That's how I got your number there, Noel. Oh, Steve.
Yeah, he comes in and plays as well.
Yes, Steve Houston, best known for a Little River Band. All right, Noel, I just want to... Thanks very much for your time. Got to leave it there. But I do want to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think killed the late, great Jimi Hendrix? Was it the drug? Was it the fame? Was the combination? The pressure? Do you have a theory yourself, Noel?
Yeah, I'd say the guy was really tired The guy really needed the rest, you know. I personally think it was a terrible accident, sort of, because one knows that one shouldn't take barbiturates when you're drinking wine. But there again, someone should have known to turn him on his side and whatever. But it's killed a lot of people, you know, Judy Garland, barbiturates and champagne and that sort of stuff, you know. I think it was a nasty accident, personally.
Anyway, Noel, thanks very much for taking time to talk with us.